back to the Dorm Room Sports Chat. I'm your host, Annie Marham, alongside our three analysts, Derek Fazenden, Brittany McMorris, and Zach Clark. Tonight, how the basketball team responds after the loss to Colorado and their chances of dancing in March. Plus, find out how the hockey team did against defending champions Davenport. And stay tuned for when our analysts play a little game called Blip or Trend. The Arizona basketball team took on Utah, Colorado this weekend, resulting in a 77-51 win over Utah and a 64-63 loss to Colorado. A road sweep would have catapulted the Arizona into a tie with Washington for second place in the conference due to the losses by Pac-12 frontrunners Stanford and Cal. But now, with only 11 games remaining, the Wildcats need to string together some wins if they want to have any chance of winning the Pac-12 and getting a bid to the tournament. Derek, in the game against Utah, the Cats looked unmotivated and tired until the ejection of Solomon Hill for a flagrant elbow, with 18 minutes remaining in the second half, which led to the Wildcats hitting their next 6 shots, followed by a 26 run over the next 6 minutes to build a 20-point lead. Why did it take the ejection of Hill for this team to wake up?
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy. I don't know. I think that was the number one problem in the Oregon game, the game before that, and that they ended up losing. You can't play 20 minutes of basketball and expect to win a game, especially with, let's be honest, with the lack of talent this team has. This team, yeah, maybe 2-3 years down the road is going to be good, but if you get this feeling, guys, that I think this thing thinks they're a lot better than they are, and Sean Miller has openly said that. So, yeah, when your leader, Solomon Hill, kind of leaves the game, maybe that sparks the team, whatever it takes to win. But I think down the road, if this team wants to make the NCAA tournament or at least have a shot at it, they're going to have to play a full 40 minutes of basketball.
The Wildcats haven't played a complete game in the last 4 contests. Not against Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, or Colorado. Either it's first half volley or second half volley. They have to string a whole game together, and plus, I'm not even sure if Solomon Hill is the leader.
I don't think
he's been chosen, but I'm not sure he's accepted.
Yeah, you look at Nick Johnson one game, he'll step up. Solomon Hill the next will step up. I don't know. It's been so inconsistent, it's ridiculous. Right, Brittany? I don't know.
All right, Brittany. It seems like the players on the floor panic when it comes down to that last shot, high-pressure situation. Last year, the ball would have gone to the hand of Derek Williams, but this year, there doesn't seem to be that go-to guy. Brittany, if you were Miller, who would you choose to be that person?
Well, too bad Kevin Parham wasn't that person versus Colorado. I mean, he did miss a great 3-point chance to get the game winner versus Colorado. But if I was Sean Miller, I would definitely have to choose Jesse Perry, being that he had a great game versus Colorado and he had 20 points and 9 rebounds. And with that, he is a senior, so he can handle the pressure. So,
I mean, he's without question been the most consistent guy on that squad all year long.
And I think so. As far as big guys are concerned, I mean, he's the biggest we've got, unless you really want to count Carell, which
we don't.
We don't.
We don't.
Yeah,
we don't want to
do
that.
We can all agree on that. But yeah, I would have to agree with what you're saying. I think, but it goes back to what we were saying on the first topic. I think a different guy steps up every night, which is great, but that hasn't.
There's no fallback.
You've got to have one guy you can count on when everyone's struggling to bail you out. That's what the good teams do, and Arizona doesn't have that yet. Maybe it's Nick Johnson in the future. Maybe it's incoming freshman Brandon Ashley next year. But so far this year, they don't have it.
Well, the Wildcats take on Washington State and Washington this weekend. Zach, including the visit from ESPN's College Game Day, what do the Cats need to do to work on the most in order to not have another wasted opportunity?
Well, we touched on it in the opening segment. They have to play consistent basketball for 40 minutes, and they have to have consistent efforts from more than one person. They'll have to have big games from Kyle Fogg, Solomon Hill. The freshmen will have to be consistent. They don't have to be spectacular, but they can't be a liability, and that's one of the things at certain times this season, whether it's been Josiah Turner or Angelo Troll, they've been relative liabilities. Nick Johnson has been too good to be a liability.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. First of all, why is College Game Day coming? I feel bad for
Well,
ESPN
you look at what happened in this game a year ago with the block and the whiteout.
And I think
they couldn't have seen what was the fallout that was going to come afterwards.
Exactly. I think unfortunately most of the talk is going to be about last year's game. Well, and quite honestly,
what's there to talk about this year?
Well, not much. But Arizona
incoming class.
Yeah,
that's
right. I already mentioned Brandon Ashley like 5 minutes into the segment. That's probably not good, but. Well, when you look at Arizona, I think in this game, this is kind of the last thing they need. I think they need to kind of be under the radar if they want to get back in this thing. But these guys are going to have to grow up fast. This is going to be a big stage, another big challenge, a big opportunity. Talk about battling adversity, and as this is as close as a must-sweep series as it gets.
ESPN never comes to Tucson at the right time.
No. Never.
Think about earlier this year, last year. Football and basketball.
Oh, Brittany, that Oregon game was fun, right? Football.
I didn't rush the field.
I didn't either.
I wasn't there. No. I'm pretty proud of myself because I do a lot of dumb things, but I was good on that one.
Well, let's hope that ESPN coming can maybe spark some kind of fire for these Cats. There's obviously a lot of work to be done for the Cats to dance in March. But after the break, find out how the Wildcat skaters fared this weekend. Arizona Wildcat hockey swept by Davenport. The 19th ranked Arizona Wildcats need a win this past weekend to keep their national tournament hopes alive. The Davenport Panthers came to Tucson, ranked number 13 in the nation, and were the defending national champions. Davenport jumped out in front both nights and never looked back, defeating Arizona 2-1 Friday and Saturday, earning the sweep. The Wildcats fall 12-12-1 on the season, with their tournament hopes on life support. The Wildcats went for 0 for 12 on the power play this weekend. Derek, talk about how important it is to capitalize on these opportunities, especially against a high-caliber opponent.
Yeah, well, 0 for 12. I'm no math major, but that's not a good percentage. 0 for anything. So, especially when you're playing such a good team like Davenport, you've got to capitalize when you have the advantage, when you have more men on the ice than the other team, and they couldn't do it. And partly that's due to Davenport being a superior team, but it would have been nice, Zach. You know better than anyone. You cover the team on a daily basis. They had to get one of these, and they didn't do that.
Well, and one of the things, blowing it on the power play is never a good thing. But when you look at losing 2 one-goal games in back-to-back nights, having never capitalized, and at one point in the third period on Friday, they had a double minor. So they had a one-man advantage for 4 continuous minutes and were unable to score. Coach Hogan told me after Friday night's game, one of the signs of a bad hockey team is inability to score on the power play. I'm not sure if he believes his team is. I think that was said more out of frustration than it was anything else. Yeah. But it was tough. As far as the national tournament is concerned now, as we're going to talk about in a minute, they're going to need a sweep in Tempe this weekend, and that has not been done by anybody all season. The Wildcats are already 0 for 4. It's a tough road ahead.
Well, we'll talk about your backs being up against the wall.
Brittany, going off of that, like in any collegiate sport, winning at home is very important. Now Arizona will have to sweep third-ranked Arizona State in Tempe. How does this team bounce back and win on the road?
I think that within itself, they are playing their huge rival, ASU, and it's going to draw a huge crowd. It's going to pump the team up. They'll be out there. Fans are cheering. I mean, who doesn't get pumped up for that? And, they just have to win this game, and if they don't, I think if they win the first game, then they'll be inevitable to win the second game.
Yeah, winning the first one is always huge. You don't want to start off on the wrong foot. And if Arizona loses on Friday, they can pretty much kiss it goodbye on Saturday and for the rest of the season. You can mark my words on that one.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Backs up against the wall, but at the same time, it's not going to be any tougher than Davenport. Davenport's a very good club as well.
Yeah, defending champs.
Defending champs. Doesn't get much better than that. And Arizona, let's give them credit. They've played ASU tough a couple of times. I think we had one of the players on earlier in the semester. And
Captain Slogaki,
Yes, Slogaki. And he basically said, hey, you know what, this isn't the year we're going to get swept out of them. We're going to go out and we're just as good as they are. We can beat them. I think he firmly believes that. I think this team believes they can win, so don't count them out yet.
It's now or never.
Now or never, right.
Going back to Saturday's loss, came with the goal at just 30 seconds remaining in overtime, after the Wildcats tied it late in the third period. Zach, how demoralizing is a loss like that?
That's huge. It's huge. When you drop a game like that, when you fought hard, they allowed a goal early into the second period by Davenport. They came back, scored late on a great goal from the left-hand side. They played tough at the beginning of the overtime, but then, we talked about Slogaki, and he kind of got lazy coming off the ice in the overtime, and it cost him a breakaway, and at that point the goal went through, 30 seconds left. When you're so close to a shootout in which they felt they had the better skates in which to win, it hurts. And especially this team they're new, and they're working on discipline. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare coming up this weekend after a really tough loss. If they've improved, they'll hang their heads high. If not, well, it could be a long weekend.
Yeah, I completely agree. And
when you're so close.
Just to even further that, you don't, in collegiate sports, maybe in football, for example, you got all the polls and everything, like a close loss matters, but when you lose, you just lose. In college hockey, you can't really take much away from it. How big a win that would have been, it just makes it that much worse of a loss. And like you said, when you battle for almost 3 periods long and stay with the team, losing is just not an option at that point.
All right, coming up after the break, we'll play a little game for our analysts. Stay with us.
I'm Derek Williams, your former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UATV. Don't change the channel.
I see those clones looking down on me, but unlike those clones, this dog is free. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life, dog's life. Oh Lord, it's
Our analysts will play a game called Blip or Trend, where I'll bring up a topic and ask them if they think this is a blip, something short-term that won't continue much longer, or if it is a trend, something that will continue. First question is for Derek. The UA basketball team has seemed much more aggressive than usual. We've seen cheap shots, fights, and tempers not being controlled. Do you think this is a blip or a trend?
Better not be a trend, I'll tell you that much. If they want to keep losing games, then sure, it's going to be a trend. I like the first part of your statement. I like being aggressive, take the ball to the rack, get and ones. Yeah, I like that part, but you can't lose your cool like that. You can't be getting into scuffles with every Pac-12 or opponent you face. I mean, building rivalries are great, but you can have clean, competitive games, and it's not the look Sean Miller wants. In fact, after the Solomon Hill ejection on Thursday, I believe, to Utah, this is the first time since the BYU game last year the media was not allowed to talk to the players, because I don't think, quite frankly, Sean Miller wanted players saying anything dumb. I'm not saying he doesn't trust them, but it's just one of those things where it kind of looked intentional what Solomon did there. Who knows, maybe it's just frustration, but you got to compose yourself a little better than that.
And, Sean Miller's a disciplined guy, but, he hasn't really been anti-fighting much this year. Remember after the Xavier game,
and I agree with
he didn't really step down from what they did. I would assume there'd be more of a blip, but I don't think he minds a portion of that.
And I feel that was early in the season, though. If you do it like 3 separate times, I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking.
They don't pay me to be boss. I have no idea.
You'd think these players would soon realize that we do have instant replay. But next question is for Brittany. There have been several players either being suspended or dismissed from their teams in the Pac-12. Reeve Nelson from UCLA, Keela King from ASU, Sadiki Johnson from right here at U of A, and Josh Jiggy Watkins from Utah. Is this a blip or a trend?
Well, I think if we look at this nationally for sports, for college football, it started out, there was teammates getting, ejected from, dismissed from teams, and then we see this far into the college basketball season, and you can see the same thing. And I hope it's a blip, but I'm going to say the trend is that schools and academic associations, are actually holding players and coaches responsible for their actions. So
it's got to be a trend. Unfortunately, it's always been this way. There's never, yes, it seems a little more common this year, but it's not like this is the first time anyone's ever been dismissed from a team. It happens to some major program at least once every year.
That's true.
If not much more so than that. This year you're just seeing a expansion of that, unfortunately. Scary.
All right. Next question is for Zach. Both Lee Evans and Billy Cundiff made game-changing mistakes in the Ravens' loss to the Patriots, and ASU's own Kyle Williams fumbled a pair of punts. Sound familiar? Is this a blip or a trend heading into the Super Bowl?
This one's kind of tricky. I guess if the question is, do I think the Super Bowl is going to be won and lost on a bad play? I hope not. The Super Bowl is usually so much fun to watch. I don't want it to come down to some sloppy play at the end. But if you look at any one of those plays, it could have put their team in a position to go to the Super Bowl, and as a result, neither team is going. Those were huge mistakes, especially the kind of 32-yard field goal. Come on, you got to hit that. You got to make that hit. They went for it on 4th and 6 because they couldn't hit a 40 or 51-yard field goal. If you can't get it from 32, I don't know where you're going to get it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's funny that both Harbaugh brothers losing on special teams play, something both those guys preach so much to their team. You know what? I'm probably in the minority in this, but I would have loved to see a Harbaugh Super Bowl.
No way.
But, yeah, see, there you go.
All right, it's time for the final word. Each one of these analysts will have 30 seconds to discuss their topic of choosing. I'm going to toss it up to Derek first. Your 30 seconds starts now.
All right, well, you guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to do this one more time, but I am the fantasy football champion. So, yep, bring it on in, baby. 11-1-1, had one tie, pretty solid numbers. Drew Brees, thank you, you're my boy. Gronk, love you. Wes Welker, you're my man. That's an extra $200 in my pocket. Maybe I'll go.
You put your name on the trophy?
Yeah, it's engraved. This is legit, folks. I'll bring it into next show.
No, you won't.
No, I won't, actually. I'm afraid you'll steal it because you'll be so jealous. But you know what? It's just a great day for me. All about me on this one.
Great.
All right, Brittany, it's your turn. Your 30 seconds starts now.
I'm going to go with the Colorado-Arizona series. Well, we started out with our football game, and of course we lose. And I'll give them that. It was cold. It was windy. We were at mile-high altitude. Whatever. I think we had the better quarterback and the better team. I don't know how we lost. And then this past weekend, we lose men's and women's basketball at Colorado, and we have nowhere to redeem ourselves because Colorado doesn't have swimming and diving, and we don't have baseball, so we can't beat them there. So we have to redeem ourselves on February 9th when Colorado comes to Tucson to play some basketball.
That's gonna be a big
All right, that is a date we will wait for. Zach, your turn starts now.
God, it's about time. I thought I would never get my turn. So I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it a little non-sports related. This is something that I have to talk about, at least mention briefly. Gabrielle Giffords decided today that she would step down from her spot in Congress, and you know the events that happened in the last year. It's just been wild what she's gone through, and her ability to stay strong through the whole thing has been amazing. I was fortunate enough to meet her about a year and a half ago, and she's an amazing woman and an amazing leader, and it's just too bad that what she did so well was so horribly taken from her. Yeah. And that's that.
You know, those were both fantastic. I feel a little bit bad about mine.
I'll let you pat yourself in the back a little bit harder there, champ.
I got it next week, guys.
Next time.
Oh,
Something I would say is a trend is having Gronk on your fantasy team because that's exactly who beat me at a first for the championship for my fantasy league. That's going to wrap up this episode of Dorm Room Sports Chat. We have a big weekend of basketball coming up, including the highly anticipated College Game Day whiteout against Washington this Saturday. Be sure to check back next week where we'll discuss the weekend of sports and our analysts will give you their predictions for the Super Bowl 46. For Zach, Derek, and Brittany, I'm Annie Martin. See you next week.